Well, good evening, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen around the world. It is once again time for the WADcast episode number 66. That's right, the Writers, Actors, Directors podcast, where we talk about entertainment, movies, TV, and everybody associated in making those things. Joining us, as always, is Mr. Brandon
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday.
and Mr. Kinte.
Hey, what's up? I'm feeling like a Bond villain today.
Well, we have a hot show for you tonight, but before we get into that,
Hey,
let's just
what's up? I'm
check in
feeling,
with everybody, see how we're doing. I'm fine. Kinte, how you doing?
man, I am excellent and I'm ready to play.
Brandon?
I'm good. Just, I'm here. Busy day. So, yeah. No, but what's the topic for tonight, Josh? What are we
No
talking
idea.
about? No idea.
Tonight is a Kinte week to bring the
Oh, okay.
news, to bring the topic, to bring the story. So, Kinte, take the lead. What are we doing tonight?
We're talking about a this is something that's kind of in the news. We kind of in a this is kind of in the news right now. But we want to talk about what is a creative person's responsibility when creating their art. Do they have a responsibility to the public, or should they just create and just let the chips fall where they may? And I have several instances where I can bring it up, and we can talk about it.
Okay, so kick us off. What is the first shining example that we need to think about when it comes to artists and how they affect real world people?
Yeah. Now let me first say I'm all about free speech. I'm all about people's right to create. But I'll be honest with you, as a creative person, I do think about how it may affect other people as well. Like I do think about, am I helping the overall world with my content, or am I doing any kind of damage? Um, and I believe it is possible, right? I mean, we can look. We all like video games, right?
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. I You play Grand Theft Auto for a length of time, um, you
Hmm.
almost have to start stealing cars. So, uh, I'm not saying that those people. If somebody's dumb butt wants to go out and steal, I'm not saying it's Rockstar's fault. They shouldn't be co-defendants. But I'm just saying, we can't act like it doesn't have some sort of effect. You know, and my take on it is not just with video games, but movies as well. Um, should we actually even consider with with oh, sorry about this, I had to take something. Um, should we even think about it? As creative persons, I know I've talked to different people, and some people have the attitude of, what, my creative process, whatever comes out of it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So that's what
Yeah.
people have. And then I have people say, kind of like me, is that kind of like on the fence. Um, so that's an example of that. And also, there's the whole talk about the Dave Chappelle situation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you know, when it comes to comedy, right? That you're making a joke about, what is crossing the line? What is the line? Where is the line? Is there a line? Should there be a line? Right? Uh,
Hmm.
I believe there should be a line to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, who gets to interpret it, what the line is, and where it is, and where should it be? You know, me personally, I had no problems with the Dave Chappelle special, but I wasn't the offended party, so some people might say, well, I have no right to put my 2 cents in because I wasn't what it was aimed at. So I don't know. I feel like this is a great topic to have a conversation about. I'm not saying we're going to answer any answers, and a big shout out to Renee is in the chat room as well. So I don't know. I feel like this would be a great conversation for us to have.
Well, see, the thing is, like, I look at the whole as a person who is not a member of the gay community, the LGBTQ community, the whole, okay, I made a comment on a YouTube video talking about Dave Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
And this one guy responds to me, and I'm going to use my one per episode here. But I mentioned to him about how I watched a special with a friend of mine who is in that community, and she and I were both laughing hysterically at it, and like some parts, like even felt bad about laughing, but still laughing. And I told this guy, like, I myself am not a member of this community, but the friend of mine I was hanging out with, like, that we were watching this with, like, we even had a long discussion after the show, like for like an hour and a half after we spoke about it. Mm-hmm. And that's all I said to this guy. And this guy came right back and said, and here's my one. He was like, unless you're a member of my community, don't fucking talk about my community.
Mm.
I responded with, like, well, then how about this? Unless you're a comedian, don't talk about comedy.
Right.
Like, but it's like, but I told him, like, the thing is what I saw in the special, how you're acting right now, is exactly what he was talking about.
Right.
Like, you can't, like, you have to understand, like, there has to be a conversation. And comedy, you can't laugh at something in comedy. You can't be like, oh, well, this person's the butt of the joke. That's hysterical. This person's the butt of the joke. That's hysterical. And I'm not just talking about, like, playful jabs. I'm talking about really messed up, dark humor, harmful jokes towards different communities. If they are funny to you any other time, but the second you're in the crosshairs, it becomes this horrible thing, then don't listen to comedy. Don't watch comedy. You have no business anywhere near it. And that's my input. Now with the whole Chappelle thing, and as like you said, like where the line is drawn. 2 shows ago, Josh and I had talked about. I believe it was like 2 weeks ago. Josh, you and I had talked about this. With where is the line in comedy? Is there a line? Should there be a line? There should always be a line. I mean, I'm not going to go up there and start shouting the N-word like Michael Richards did.
Right.
I mean, that's a line that was far beyond cross right there. But when it comes to humor, I think that comedy should be anything goes. Just let's keep it away from like the racist shit. But that's so with the Dave Chappelle thing. I've watched it a few times since then because I want to really try to understand how something could be maybe either missed on my end or missed on another end. And I see a few things where what he said was probably taken the wrong way, but as I said to somebody else, the show is called The Closer.
Right.
And I assume that is in correlation with his friend Daphne Dorman, who had committed suicide, being his opener. Right. So that being the case, this show was very much dedicated to Daphne, although she was only mentioned in a brief part of the show. A large part of that, I look at what he was going off on as raw emotion of him saying he's had it. And even at the end, he says this one thing where it's like, I will stop making jokes and stop writing jokes about your community until I can be sure that we are both laughing together.
Right.
And I'm looking at this like, it makes sense. Like, I mean, comedy is comedy. It's all subjective.
Yeah, and I was expecting Kira Sedgwick to come out, being that she is the closer.
Oh God. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I really, not just with just the Dave thing, but I wonder, like, certain content, what's the true effect on the people that watch it? You know, like
Yeah.
there's always things like, let's take it even out of the Dave thing, but um, stuff that's aimed for kids. I don't know if you ever, I don't know, I don't have any children, but I've had nieces and nephews, and I know that there's been times where I put on like the ABC Family Channel or the Disney Channel or whatever, and then I walk away or whatever, and I come back. I'm like, wait, what is this that's on there? I'm like, I was like, I don't think this is appropriate, even though it's supposed to be for children. You know, so I don't know, Josh. You have little kids, so I don't know if you've ever thought that you were putting something that was for children for your kids, and then it turned out to not be, or at least there was stuff maybe you weren't ready for to see. You know, so.
No, I can't say that I have.
Oh, well then
I'm pretty good at vetting things before I show them to my kids, and I'll be honest though, there were some situations where what they were being shown was out of my control, and I didn't much care for that. But as they get older, I got one in high school, one in middle school, one in elementary school. So the older two, I have eased up restrictions a lot when it comes to some of the things they see. I'm basically keeping violence levels to what's already on TV.
Mhm.
And when it comes to profanity, I make sure they're not around Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And it, to me, like if I was a member of the MPAA, I would look at some casual swearing as less impactful. I mean, when you're dropping an F bomb, context is everything, right?
right.
Just because you say it a couple times doesn't mean you should automatically get an R rating, in my opinion. But if you're
I agree.
using it as a verb and using details and talking about super sexually explicit stuff, yeah, maybe you deserve that tag of an R rating. More mature audiences. And I know, in America we're like hyper repressed when it comes to sexuality and things that get shown on TV compared to other countries, but I don't think TV is where my kids should be learning about the stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Well,
I don't think it should be from their friends either. I've had sit down frank discussions with them about it, and
yeah.
I personally think that's the best way.
Well, I was fooled because I thought the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was about a handyman who likes to dress up, But I had no idea that it was, not fit for children.
But you know what I think we could use in a situation like this?
What's that?
I think we could use I don't know, a female's perspective.
Oh, okay. Man, if we can only find one. Oh my God, a female.
I just have them laying around.
Okay, John Wayne Gacy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Jen to the panel tonight as we talk about this very, I'm going to say it's an important topic.
Well, just can I say, no pressure, Jen, but pretty much you're speaking for all women, so no pressure.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I heard the conversation, and I guess I wanted to say one quick thing, and that is that there are some shows on TV right now that really are pushing boundaries in that direction. One of them I really love, but I don't think I would ever let my kids under 15, 16 watch it because it really is disturbing. Um, Have any of you been watching the series Chucky?
Oh
No.
yeah,
No.
No, is it good?
no, I've seen all 3 episodes so far. Love that show.
It's
Yeah, not
amazing.
kid-friendly.
It's
Not kid-friendly.
absolutely, but it's not kid friendly. No, and not only is it not kid friendly, but it's in some ways, I think, almost worse is not the right word. It's more uh, immersive than the movies, and so it really strikes a chord. And these kids are supposed to be in middle school, and so there's like this resonance. But I wouldn't let kids in middle school watch it. Oh my gosh!
I'll tell you
So
right now, watching this show, Jen, I'm sorry to cut you off, but guys, you need to first off this show. These kids are in middle school, and they are at house parties drinking their asses off.
Yeah.
yep.
I'm not even joking. I feel like, and Jen, this is the one thing where I think they kind of lost track with the writing in Chucky.
They did.
And you're right, it is far from kid friendly, and of course, I don't think it's meant for kids. I mean, this is Don Mancini's dedication to his fan base.
Right.
Of course, all a bunch of like us, like that were kids in the '80s that had like the My Buddy dolls that were, traumatized from Child's Play. But
My buddy. My buddy. Sorry.
But I had one, man. I wasn't traumatized because I was hoping that he would come to life. But no, it's like they lose track of this stuff, and it is definitely not something like these kids. First off, I mean, yeah, I think they're like 14 years old or something like that, Jen, right? Like 14.
Yeah, they're supposed to be in like their last year of middle school.
So around like 14, 15, then somewhere around there.
Right. Yeah, that tracks.
But
Oh, so 34.
and Chucky is killing these kids, man.
Yep.
Like not trying to possess them, murder.
Oh, wow.
Graphically too. But yeah, no, I'm sorry, Jenna. It's like I said, like I mean, it just caught me off guard. Like Chucky is a great series, but it's great, wonderfully written. But it's
Well, the reason that I bring that up is because I think in context, just like you were saying, it's awesome for us because we're really enjoying it. But there are contextual clues that will tell you, hey, this is kid friendly or not kid friendly. But I think that maybe even is like from an altitude too high up. I think I do like segmenting for kids, for certain audiences that might be triggered by certain things. I think that those are okay. It's okay to say this might be triggering, or have stuff afterwards that says, hey, if you're bullied, Chucky did that too, and I really liked that. I appreciated it. But I also think that fictional content is fictional content, and yes, maybe we should segment audiences so that we're not exposing everybody to the same levels. But I don't think that we should censor fictional content simply because there are strata to audiences. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If I could bring an example that this is something that actually happened. My kids have watched Squid Game.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's violent. Yeah, there's one
Graphic death.
Yeah, graphic violence. But
Sex.
it also led to one scene in a bathroom that was easily skipped.
Yep.
One of the discussions that we can have, especially with my 12-year-old who is really into special effects and makeup, is talking about how they pulled off some of the effects and things like that. And then we'll watch videos on how they do these sort of things. And you know what? Maybe one day I'll have a little special effects wizard on my hands. Who knows? But I thought, comparatively speaking, that was much more presentable over the original Suicide Squad. And I'm not even talking about quality, but when it comes to influence, Squid Game had that creative aspect where you're like, how did they pull that effect off? Where Suicide Squad, and I will be very specific here, the relationship between Joker and Harley is I don't know what happened, but somewhere along the lines, people started considering them.
A dream team.
Yeah,
Hashtag
the
power couple.
right, a couple ideal that they should strive for. You know, like what was it, Natural Born Killers back in the day?
Mickey and
Yeah. Yeah, Julia Lewis and Woody Harrelson.
They're like, this is love. I saw it all the time, and you know what I do for a day job, and you know, I would see the younger people saying, you know, I'm going to be like Joker and Harley. That's the kind of relationship I want, and to me, that is much more harmful to an audience's psyche than seeing some blood and guts. Having an example of such a toxic, one-sided, abusive relationship being considered something to look up to versus, you know, some gore.
But can I ask you a question as a follow up to that? Because
Sure.
I sometimes wonder how people are deciding whether that the kids looking up to that as a model of relationship, whether that is a result of our fictional zeitgeist or whether it is, and I'm so sorry, I don't mean this as a diss to parents out there, because I know a lot of us really try hard and it doesn't always turn out the way that you want it to, but whether there are influences on kids that create that, including and up to, you know, not being sort of present and available as a parent, or having influences with peers that are causing that. And that, yes, the fictional zeitgeist is sort of, that's a thing and there it is, and yes, there are pieces in this that maybe could be better in terms of being role model, but is that the issue, or is the issue something else in our society?
Well, I think personally, and when it comes to this specific topic that we're talking about, the responsibility of artists and creators uh, carries maybe not the full load, the full responsibility of how their characters are revered. But in this particular instance, there was a definite marketing strategy to push Joker and Harley, you know, the couple, to the forefront of that movie. And you know, there was the marketing, the merchandise, you know, playing
Oh yeah.
into their coupledom, and it was just for a brief period of time, it was everywhere that this was love.
Oh yeah, well yeah, girls and the boyfriends in high school going out dressed up in the matching Joker and Harley Quinn costumes.
And it's weird. I've never seen this
Like,
kind of dynamic play to such a popular level. Yes, like I said, Natural Born Killers came first, but because of where this hit in pop culture, that was basically the only popular thing about the movie. And
but
yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
you know what cracks me up about that though, and this goes back to the whole point of this show. um, what is acceptable in society based on what is put out on like an artistic platform of any kind, comedy, film, comic books, whatever, who cares? Any kind of entertainment that's put out. People get pissed off pretty easily these days. It is a much more sensitive time than I'm actually comfortable with. And just because, Josh, you've known me for years, my sense of humor is not user friendly. You know, I'm like that bare naked lady song. I'm the kind of guy that laughs at a funeral. I've done it hysterically. I had to remove myself. But Joker and Harley Quinn was something that was revered by people. Like, oh, the perfect couple. I remember all the damn memes on Facebook all the time, and I still see the damn things. Like, I mean, it's just like, what was it? So like it's stupid stuff too. Like like when my man treats me like a queen, I will always treat him like a king. And it's like Harley Quinn and like Joker. I'm like, maybe you meant to say Stockholm syndrome. I don't know. It's like abuse. I will say that Harley Quinn is someone that I will back as a person that I think girls can look up to. Um, just because like Harley Quinn, I mean, outside the whole psychotic killing people shit. Um, but with her, like just like character growth kind of deal, she went from a full fledged like psychotic villain sidekick to more of like to just like a solo villain to more of like an anti hero to just whatever she feels like being. Like she's not stable, but she rose above and she got rid of that toxic situation. Just kind of flip flops back and forth, but she is trying to break free of that. Like I think that's something that people can look up to and like kind of like be like, okay, well, I understand how she feels with like the uncertainty of the future and the security blanket that was that relationship. That is what she knew of that part of her life. But you take all that's been going on, that people are livid about these days, or what people will raise hell over. This is unacceptable. You can't do this. You can't do it. This is not right. This makes fun of this person. The movie Split had a petition to have it removed from Netflix in the UK because it inappropriately depicted someone with dissociative identity disorder. It's a damn movie. Anne Hathaway in The Witches had to apologize because people were livid because people who are disfigured are painted as villains. But these very same people are the ones I see posting things about Harley Quinn and Joker. I'm like, well, that's okay for you though? A girl getting smacked around, thrown out of a building, given a grenade with a ring pulled and shoved towards Batman, like that stuff's okay. So it's something that baffles me with today's society, with where it stands and what is okay and what is not, and where this line is in like any artistic platform.
Kinte,
it just seems very wishy-washy to me.
Would you say there is a double standard when it comes to someone's point of view in a lot of these instances?
Oh, big time, yeah. And me and Jen actually had a conversation about this. It usually is about the affected party. So if it's something that somebody feels like they're affects them, obviously they feel a little differently about it. But they say what is that old saying that jokes are not funny when it's about you or something like that. Something to that effect.
Yeah,
But,
something I know what you're talking about.
but so but my thing is, I just want to talk about what is our responsibility as creators. Is our responsibility purely to our art? Should we think about the greater world or the greater society? I mean, is there some middle ground that we can get to? I'm just really curious. Jen, what do you?
Well, I was going to say, actually, I wasn't going to say, but now I am going to say, back in my 20s, in my early 20s, I used to write romance novels. And the publishing companies love that, right? They love having new authors that are open and willing to use their formulaic uh, ideas in order to publish content. It was big. And what they were specifically looking for didn't push a lot of boundaries, but by today's standards, like we were just talking about, it does. It's almost like we have sort of redefined the idea of what content creators can and cannot do that is friendly to society. And I think that this is where a lot of confusion comes in. What was acceptable to one generation is now not acceptable for other generations that kind of grew up with it. And they push really hard and they have a lot of influence. And that, I think, is just a recipe for disaster. Not disaster, but it's a recipe for sort of unrest and not being able to communicate together about what is acceptable and not acceptable. And I think, I mean, I used to get hate mail myself about, well, why is this relationship? This seems like a toxic relationship. This doesn't seem healthy. Why did this person, why did you include rape? Oh my God, that one was crazy. Those things become really important as a creator to sort of like listen to. You can't ignore people and say, oh well, I don't think that your points are valid, but at the same time, works of fiction are works of fiction. And so yes, maybe we all have a responsibility to society at large, but the responsibility is first to the art, not to the world. Which I feel like I'm sort of
Absolutely.
on an island. Oh, good. I'm so glad I'm not on an island. I was going to say I feel like I'm on an island about this because I feel like the art needs to be created, and then yes, society can tear it apart. Society can say this is crap. I don't like it. Whatever. We're not going to do this or we're not going to do that. But it's not on the artist to say, well, I'm just not going to create art because society says I should or shouldn't do that. I don't. I hope that that's not too unpopular of an opinion, but
Hey, I mean,
No,
it
yeah.
is.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kinte.
No, I'm just saying it is what it is.
Yeah, see, it's like, here's the thing. You have Generation X, and then my generation with the millennials, like, and all that stuff, like the earlier millennials, like right around, like I was born in '82. You have these two generations that broke down censorship barriers. They even like generations, but like the boomer generation before that, that did everything they could to break down walls in entertainment. Um, Christ, what was it? I Love Lucy. I think that was one where it was the very first time where you ever saw a couple. It's either the first time you ever saw, no, the first time you ever saw a couple in the same bed together. I'm not too sure. I think that was I Love Lucy, but and it slowly just snowballed to being able to express more artistically from there. To now, it's just like if there's a movie that comes out, I don't like it, I won't watch it. If there's something that goes on that, like a TV show, I don't like it, I can identify with it, I won't watch it. What I see a lot of things happening is that, yeah, like jokes, jokes on you, it's hysterical. Jokes on me, bad. As creators, like, I mean, with the stuff that I wrote this script called The Groomsman, and I've discussed this on the show before, way back when. I wrote this script back in 2008, I think, 2009. It won multiple awards, and I was even given an offer for option. And I, like an idiot, refused because I figured if someone wanted it, I could actually make it myself. Dumb choice. But going back and reading it, the language I used, like terms that I would use freely with like friends of mine back in like high school and everything else in college, I would never use on anyone today. You grow, you mature, you realize that some things are not okay to be said at all. Like, you have to adapt with the times as a writer, especially with comedy. Comedy ages like milk. So, with what you're saying, Jen, like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I think that you should create what you want to create, and it is up to the public to say yay or nay. And then, Kinte, I also agree with you with the fact that, you have to kind of think of what effect it's going to have on people that either read it or watch it or listen to it. Because ultimately, if you go in guns a-blazing and you do not care, you are committing career suicide.
yeah, I was
on
gonna
some
say
on some level. So I
that
mean,
actually, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we used to have at conventions where romance writers would get together. The conventions would talk about how that there is a path to marketing which is like straight through every single suburban mother's pocketbook, and that is following a fairly specific kind of trope. and that when you break from that trope, you will often find that people will either completely ignore it or decide, no, that's not for me. Is it too erotic? Is it not erotic enough? I mean, like, all of those things go into it. And the idea that you could create any kind of piece of art, any whether it's a movie or whether it's a book or whatever, the idea that you can create something that is controversial, that maybe has elements that are less than seemly in society, or even not even seemly in society, just have mixed messages in them. Those kinds of things, those are important also for the conversation in society. And I'm not just talking about like do artists write things to be controversial. I'm saying when you write things or when you create things, sometimes that becomes the talking point that gives us the yes, this is okay, or no, it's not. Is it okay to be Harley Quinn and Joker? No, it's not. But sometimes it takes seeing it in black and white, full in your face, to get that point across. So I can't always say that the content is always at fault. Sometimes I feel like it's up to us to sort of pick it apart and go, yeah, okay, we're going to use this as this is the moment to teach. This is the moment that we got. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I kind of see me and Josh. I'm like Joker, and he's like Harley Quinn.
Oh, Mr. K.
Wow, Josh, can you do one of those upside down flips? I really want to see that.
He can. You should see him do it naked.
Woo!
I've seen that.
It's the only time.
I want to see it.
I mean, it's like, but it's just like that's the thing, though. I mean, that's the pressing issue with today's society as it stands. Is that it? I'm just going to say this. I don't think this goes against the any kind of like rating on the show, but the world is becoming absolutely, pardon the term, pussified. Everyone is like, people are actively these days. If there's something that's truly offensive, by all means, let's discuss it. Why is it offensive? Why would this not be, I don't know, permissible? Let's discuss what goes and what doesn't. Let's discuss this, proverbial line. Do not go out of your way to be offended by something for the sake of being offended. Okay, now South Park had an episode back a few years back where Randy Marsh is on Wheel of Fortune, and the clue was people who annoy you, and the letters were N blank GGERS. He said the wrong word. It wasn't an I, it was an A. Every person I knew at that time that was absolutely pissed about this show were a bunch of blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girls that were screaming about how offensive that was. I'm like, okay, well, let me go 1 second. Like, I had a conversation with some of my other friends and friends in the minority spectrum, and they're like, no, I think that they actually tackled the issue of racism very well. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting that argument. Okay, I wasn't expecting that at all. And then that died down. South Park went, as South Park does, the tides kind of calmed down a little bit so they could really get a rise out of the next group of people. They tackled this one episode with Macho Man Randy Savage, identifying as a woman to play against a strong woman in the women's South Park whatever athlete competition. I forget what it was, but it was a play on having biologically speaking men identifying as women playing against women, and he's just cleaning the floor with them. He's just like nothing but raw muscle. After all these episodes that came out, after all this really, really, what you would think would be crossing the line stuff that was okay for a long time, this was the one that was not okay. So it's one of those deals where, as Kinte says, what are we putting out there? What is the message? What are we responsible for what we put out? I think to an extent, because, especially if you know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, there's messages there, but messages will always be taken out of context. The Dave Chappelle special, man, there were some beautiful messages there. Delivered the wrong way. In my mind, delivered probably a little backhanded. But again, I think it was a very emotionally charged show. Had a point here. That's right. So it's just like it's one of those deals where you have this stuff that comes out. How responsible are you for what you're trying to get across? I think you're absolutely responsible for what you put out, but I don't think you're overly responsible for how people, what context people take it to be in, I guess is the best way to put it. I don't know, does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I don't know. I don't know. I look, it's hard to create good art just with no kind of nothing holding you back. It's just hard to make great art. So then when you actually add into the piece of trying to make sure that it's, not offensive and whatnot, it makes it, even tougher, the task. But then again, though, we don't live in the world by ourselves. So, we have to think about this thing.
You know, I don't know if this will help clear up the conversation. Not clear up, but I don't know if it will add any clarity to the content conversation or not, or the creators. But when George Martin wrote Song of Ice and Fire, the whole thing that he wrote was, I mean, it's crazy. It's upside down and it's crazy. It is full of incest. It's full of a lot of rape stories. It's full of a lot of really violent, super content, right? And
yeah, not family friendly at all.
no. And if you read the book, I mean, I read everything up to when they were in production, right? And I never once felt like, oh my God, I'm being subjected to this art or this writing as somehow it was so like it was written to offend me. I never once felt that way, right? I felt like a couple of times, wow, this is sort of over the top and I can't wait to see what happens next. But there weren't like a group of people out there banning his books going, well, we just can never watch this ever again or see this, ever again. We can't read this. This is going to be terrible. His next books, nobody's going to buy them. But when we showed the content, because they changed a lot of the context of what was happening, the media consumers at large felt very differently about it. And so as content creators, it also, I think, matters whether in what media you are designing in and creating in, and then in what context you are putting things. Because I think that there are stories. Beloved is a phenomenal story, and it's a Pulitzer Prize winning author. And it's impactful. It's 100% right on the money. And it also deals with some pretty intense themes, right? But when they made that movie, it didn't turn into an outrage the way that Game of Thrones had turned into an outrage when things happened, because the context was cued very carefully. Everything in the content was curated to lead the audience to a certain point. And Game of Thrones creators just threw that out the window and said, no, that doesn't matter. We're just going to do this for shock value. So, like, I think that there are content creators have a certain amount of responsibility for how they are putting forward their message. But I think that content creators also have to be true to the art, like I said, first, then put it into some kind of contextual message, right? Because I feel like that's what gets lost in translation, is how do we get from, hey, this is okay, to, wow, this is just a hot mess of hot button junk and nobody wants to see it. And like you said, you end up committing suicide for your career. So I see both sides. There's no such thing as totally innocuous content. Somebody can always find something wrong with content. A primer book from the 1950s with Dick and Jane could be completely inappropriate to somebody who used it as contextually. It sounds like a porn movie or whatever. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, well, that's where my mind goes.
Interesting though, you mentioned D&D. D&D is the people that were the executive producers of Game of Thrones, who
Right.
adapted.
Yeah.
So right as Game of Thrones was ending, right before, they were gonna do a show, another show that they pitched, and the show was I think it was called Confederacy.
Yeah.
And it was some fantasy about what if the South had won Civil War and slavery was still in effect.
Oh, I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was like, "Fuck them." No,
Yeah.
I was like, "No, we don't need that."
Oh no, they scrapped that idea real quick.
Yeah.
See, that was one of those moments where you had to ask whoever thought that up, and even worse, whoever approved it. What the hell are you thinking? Like, well, it's just like there's a great example I have as far as things being taken one way or another. Okay, Josh, you know my thoughts on this movie. Anyone knows my thoughts on this movie.
No, it can't. No, you can't. No, it's no.
Elf.
No, Ghostbusters 2016.
Oh, thank
Now,
God.
Is that the Ghostbusters?
I don't even want to know what you're thinking, Josh.
Wait,
it's the one,
is that the Ghostbusters with vaginas movie?
Yes.
See,
And like,
I
you know,
see it with Chris Hemsworth. Sorry.
see, it's like, but here's the thing: when that movie came out, if you were there's this I forget the lady's name. She's like a YouTuber. She does reviews. She's a columnist and everything else. She's like, she does a lot of stuff when it comes to reviews, when it comes to just like journalism. She's done a lot of things. She mentioned all the problems that she sees with Ghostbusters 2016, how they made it. Didn't even bat an eye. Didn't even get any airtime, no nothing, no real attention. James Rolfe, also known as, to a lot of the geek culture as the angry video game nerd, just simply said he would not review the film. You know, he's not going to talk bad about it, but what he has seen of it is not really going to be something that he himself would ever watch. And he doesn't like to review movies unless he watches them. So since he's not going to watch it, he's not going to review it. These are the problems I have with how they did this movie. Nothing at all came up of it being about women. It was just like how, like the pointers he was talking about, like, were actually valid points. He was eaten alive, like dragged through the mud. And then, much like with what Dave Chappelle recently did, they were like, people were like really bashing him, and even threatening his wife and his baby over his thoughts. And he wasn't even being hateful, but he's this misogynist and hates women, yada yada yada. Like, just like this, it just went down to such like a attacking, bullying, oppressive kind of level. You know, my thoughts on the movie. I mentioned something with a friend of mine while we were out, like, at a bar with a few of her friends. Her friends loved the movie. I'm like, okay, that's great. Well, Brandon, what'd you think? It's like, well, you know what? If it brings a new fan of Ghostbusters if it brings a new generation of Ghostbusters fans into the mix, and girls see these girls in proton packs and they feel empowered, that's awesome. Wasn't a movie for me. Like, well, why not? Like, well, all the guys were painted as idiots or assholes, and all the women were painted as these empowering people. The original Ghostbusters didn't do that. Dana Barrett was a badass. Janine was a badass. They were both very strong women. Like, I just, whatever. So it turned into this whole, like, well, you hate women. Like, well, where'd you get that?
Just because you're misogynist doesn't mean you hate women.
Like, it's like, my thing is, I like good storytelling, and like Ghostbusters 2016 didn't have any good storytelling. It sucked, and Paul Feige, just really sucked at. And I liked his work, but because of his approach to the fan base of this movie. I have not and refuse to ever watch any movie that he's even so much as produced. Just like, I mean, even pirated, like I just want nothing to do with him. Because the suicide he made with the fan base by referring to the guy, like people that just didn't really care to see the movie as a bunch of toxic assholes, toxic asshole children or whatever it was.
Well, I have a problem with taking a movie and trying to. I don't like the whole. Well, we'll make it instead of guys, we'll make it into girls, or instead of white guys, we'll make it a black version of it. My thing is, I would rather see an all new IP with 4 women. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like the Oceans. What was it? Oceans
13.
Yeah, whatever.
Ocean's 8.
8. Yeah, I knew it.
Ocean's 8. Ocean's 8. That's right. Yes.
Yeah,
wasn't it like his cousin or something like that, or whatever relative of his or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even watch this shit.
But I a sequel of sorts.
To me, it's lazy. I don't want to see. I don't want to see a black Superman. I don't want to see a black James Bond. I don't want to see a female James Bond. I want to see a spy movie that has a woman as the lead. That's her own. You know what I'm saying? Because
I mean, I will say this. Samuel L. Jackson was a much better Nick Fury than David Hasselhoff was.
Yeah, but he, I believe, comic books though.
Yeah, he was based on the Ultimate version, which was actually based off of him. Like, right. I mean, the comic book was based off of Samuel L. Jackson's appearances. So when they asked him, he was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I don't kind of put that in the same category, but yeah. I
was just joking, but still.
No, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I don't even think that's empowering. I think that's I think that is, I don't know. It's almost like you get a trophy type thing.
See, what here? There's two examples of like that I can think of. One is empowering, and one is kind of like just like I will always say pandered. Captain Marvel. Now I can't stand Brie Larson, and this goes long before Captain Marvel. I have never liked that woman.
Really?
I never liked her. I don't know why. If she was a guy, she'd have a punchable face. I'll put it that way. Not that I would ever punch Brie Larson. Just saying, like if she were a dude, just she has that face that only a mother could punch. But
okay.
But the thing is like at the end of Captain Marvel, there's a scene where she's fighting Jude Law. Jude, right? Jude or Judd?
Jude.
Whatever. Jude. Okay. So this whole scene, it's a callback to all the times that throughout her life she was beaten down, and in these clips you didn't see her get back up, but she was beaten down. And then in this one section, as she's gathering all of her might to beat the hell out of this guy, you see every single scene where she was beaten down, but then you see what wasn't shown is where she stood up. She got back up. I remember seeing this in theaters, and if I had a daughter, I would take her out to see this movie in a heartbeat for that one scene. Absolutely empowering, like to the T. Like, I mean, it was just like this beautiful, like she has had enough. Versus Avengers Endgame, where every single person shows up, the female equation, on this like massive property. They're all just happen to be like right there next to each other. Now all of a sudden Captain Marvel needs help. So beat the hell out of Thanos without an Infinity Stone. Now she needs help carrying a gauntlet through an army of people or whatever.
Well, this just in, Brie Larson wants to meet you in the park.
She what?
She wants to meet you in the park for a fist fight.
That's fine. She's not really Captain Marvel. I can take her.
I don't know, man. She might know some stuff.
Get down, beg for forgiveness, and she's not expecting to headbutt her in the ovaries. Joking.
Okay. So this actually brings up a really good question, and I think that this circles back really nicely to what we were just talking about, which is where is the responsibility on or with the creators, the content, altogether. Where is the responsibility of the narrative for the story versus the messaging of the story? So I mean, what we were just saying before is that we didn't like the way that Suicide Squad teams up Harley Quinn and Joker, right? Because
Yeah.
that feels really abusive, and there just isn't anything. There's nothing redeemable in those moments. But my question is, so if we look at that, and then we look at like Avengers, or we look at Ghostbusters, or we look at whatever, is it the content? Is it the writing? Is it the script? Or is it the execution of the script via the directors? And the reason that I say that, the only reason that I ask that, is because I think that sometimes we put a lot of emphasis on the narrative and forget that the narrative gets exposed to multiple entities over its sort of evolution from page to screen, and not everybody sees the same exact vision. And so when we talk about content creation, we can't just be talking about one individual aspect. We actually have to be talking about a pretty wide berth of people that are involved in this, and especially when it comes to media, right? When it comes to books, it's more author to page, and directly from my brain to the page. That's a little bit different. But when it comes to TV series, when it comes to movies, when it comes to anything that is produced for broadcast, we have now washed this content through so many multiple contributors
Oh yeah.
that it's hard for me to get like a good handle on, it's just the writer's fault, it's just this person's fault, because even the studios exert massive pressure on directors and producers to deliver content in the way that they want to see it. So like sometimes I struggle with this a little bit, because I feel like we push blame in the direction of either writers or even directors, when maybe that's not really where it is. Does that make? I hope that makes some sense.
See, that's why I look up anything like if it's something I really hated. When it comes to like the Ghostbusters movie, Paul Feige had a lot of say in that. Like so much so that he absolutely pissed off Dan Aykroyd and all them. He went sorely over budget. He didn't really abide by a lot of things. He made the changes and everything else. Like, I mean, he did a lot of things. He had a lot of control, more than he really should have. Just with him not understanding the stuff. And then when it came to the marketing, he was a large part of that marketing. His influence was written all over it. When it came to Avengers Endgame versus Captain Marvel, of course, you're going with like the House of Mouse there. Like, I mean, like that Mickey's always going to win. But I think really with that, it's more of like a desperation kind of move. There's a large, as you said, like it falls through the like it falls from level to level to level. Like, I mean, it's at the very top. They're the ones that make the changes, or I'm sorry, dictate the changes. The writers. And Josh, I know I said I had to leave at like 8 o'clock. I can say a little later so we can actually get some more points in from you and Kinte here. But it's just like it's one of those deals where, as it goes down through this filter, you guys remember like the exercise that we had when we were like in elementary school? You'd whisper into someone's ear, and that person would whisper in the next person's ear, and eventually it would go around the room, and whatever it was that was whispered for the first time would be completely different. That's writing in Hollywood. That's writing for big studios. The only time you rarely ever see absolute control from writer to director or writer/director is in the indie market. That's where you see it almost all the time. Going back to like one of mine and Josh's favorite films, Relish. I mean, it's...
Watch Relish.
Yeah, guys, Kinte, Jen, if you guys have not ever seen this, it's on Amazon Prime. Watch Relish. It's a great film.
Oh yeah, that's the sequel to Mustard.
Yeah. But there's just like things get like lost in the pages, and the people that create the content initially, even like with TV shows. Chucky is the one I will definitely give you, Jen. Like that right there. There are things that it points out bullying, the confusion that kids have, like with. I'm sorry, not the confusion. I want to rephrase that. Accepting who they are, coming to terms with their sexuality, all this stuff. There are things in this show that would really cater to kids. It comes off as like a coming of age story so far with a killer possessed doll.
Right.
I mean, guys, I don't know if you ever saw the meme. There's even a scene where Chucky is talking to this kid who the lead protagonist is gay. You find out like early on in the first episode, he is gay, and Chucky has a one-on-one with him. And this is a great scene that would come off as something that would really reach through to,
Wait
like,
a
you
minute.
know, just like,
Talking about?
Huh?
What kind of one-on-one are we talking about?
Oh, it's awesome. Chucky says to the kid, he says,
oh yeah,
look, I have a kid. He's
Yeah.
gender fluid. And then the kid goes, what? And he says,
Yeah.
yeah. He says, I'm a killer. I'm not a monster.
yeah. He says, "Fly." I was like, he's like, "And you're okay?" I was like, "I'm not a monster, Jake."
It is. It's an epic, epic moment.
Unlike Michael Myers, who's homophobic.
Oh yeah. Because no, he listen. He is an equal opportunist, and honestly, Michael Myers and Halloween Kills did that town a service because that town is full of idiots.
We all know why Michael Myers has a big machete. Okay, there's no, yeah.
That is Jason Voorhees.
Enough said. Well, okay, you're right. I shouldn't have said machete. I should have said knife, and I said,
You
wow,
missed-
okay. I totally screwed that up.
How dare you?
All right,
No.
all right. Yeah.
Misgendered his knife.
I will say,
Well, it's like-
for a full rundown and review of Halloween Kills, listen to Horror Flicks and Chill, available wherever fine podcasts are sold.
Oh yeah. No, I'm writing a review of that myself right now. So and with the WADcast, I think I finally was able to get through to where I can start editing the page again. If anyone has anything they want to write with articles, I'll say this again at the end of the show. But by all means, send us whatever you got. We'll post it on there, and you can be your own little published journalist through our website. But no, it's like, I mean, Halloween Kills, like, and that's the other thing, like, you know, like they reach out, like people actually think Michael Myers. There's a thing going around about him being homophobic.
I've
Like,
always,
I thought that was a joke.
I'm not gonna lie. I've always
It is
felt,
a joke.
I've always felt that way. That Michael Myers was homophobic.
What was that a joke?
Yes, it's only the people that are like taking it seriously on the other end.
I'm taking it
You know,
serious.
like, I can't believe they're upset about this that are taking it seriously, while the people
Well, see, I'm
that
curious
are
if there's
calling
people.
Michael Myers homophobic are the ones that are laughing.
I mean, let's give credit where it's due. I'm pretty sure there are people on both ends taking it absolutely seriously.
The idea that enragement equals engagement is long known on the internet, and that is one of the easiest ways to get enragement equaling engagement, is to press some hot button issue where it really doesn't belong but could possibly be a slight correlation, and all of a sudden you get a group of people who say, yeah, but I heard it on the internet. And honestly, I feel like a lot of times this is sort of just a ridiculous thing that somebody said because they were making a sarcastic joke. So
Yeah.
Somebody took the bait.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
they're the I do my own research crowd.
All right. So I guess this is time for the Jerry Springer final thought, Josh.
No. If you want to, go ahead and wrap up the topic with some sort of clear and concise vision of what Hollywood and all entertainers should do in the future, now would be the time.
Okay, I will say this: all you creative people, when you create, try to make the best property you can, but also remember that, I feel like you have to also, on some level, understand that who you're marketing it to, what is the ultimate goal of what you're trying to accomplish. And if you do that, I think that will definitely help.
All right. I think that's well said. And I guess we'll go around the table. Let's start with Jen. Where can people find you on the social medias and whatnots?
Well, I'm sort of hermity on social media, but if you really want to reach out, you can go to Twitter, and I'm at Following Bliss One. I do have a couple websites, but I don't feel like they're super ready for prime time. Although I will mention that moviesandmeals.com has a whole bunch of new Halloween recipes. They're all movie inspired, movie related, so kind of fun.
Cool. Kinte, you're up.
Yes, and happy Halloween, you guys, which is
Happy
on
Halloween.
Sunday. You can get me at Kinte F on Twitter, Kinte Ferguson on Instagram, and the new website is theindyradio.com. That's indyradio.com. The and we will be back a new episode of horror flicks and chill. Maybe, hey, Brandon, you should come on one of these episodes and talk. We're doing old Knicks, so
Okay. Well, just shoot me the information. I'll be more than happy to figure out. Like it's I work at night, so my graveyard shift. But
Perfect.
yeah, if it's like I can probably make it work. That's not a problem.
all right, cool.
Well, Brandon, you're up. Where can people find you and the WADcast on social media?
Okay. Well, you guys can find me on Instagram, bjacksman82. You'll notice there's a picture of me with a, wavy blonde hair and a black T-shirt. I guess there you can find me. And you can also find the WADcast on the Instagram. Just type in the WADcast. You'll see our logo, which is a black little circle with a white banner that says WADcast in it. You can also find us on Facebook, the same way, facebook.com/the WADcast. And our webpage is back up and running again. So just go check out thewadcast.com. Make sure you type in the word "the" before WADcast. Otherwise, you're going to go to some page that's for sale for like $2,000. We're cheap, so we just typed in "the" instead of just like buying WADcast. But then you can also find me as of late with my viral video apparently that I have that I created on TikTok, because I'm going to start posting WADcast related things on TikTok. So just type in at Brandon Junk and you'll see a picture of me with a sultry look on my face, wearing glasses, staring deep into your soul. And that's my profile on there. So pop on over there, give me a follow, give me a shout out, and I'm going to start posting things about the WADcast on there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I've got about like 4,000 followers and a video that's amassed 2.5 million views. So yeah, I'm viral. But yeah, so Josh, what about you?
Well, first of all, that's not something you should be saying in the medical field.
Listen. Last time I got tested, I tested negative for everything. The girl said that she got something from me, felt really stupid.
I thought that stuff didn't go away.
Little bleach.
Fair enough. If you want to follow me on Twitter, as always, you can go to skitcomic, SKITCOMIC. In fact, just put it in anywhere, and there's a 99% chance that it's me, no matter what the platform is. If you want to go to the website for Syndicore Studios, it's up and running, and believe it or not, updated. How did that happen? I don't know. It was me. And I'm really excited. I like the new look. No, I'm not a graphic designer by any means, but you know what? I tried. I really tried. And if you want to help me get better at things, you can always throw a tip in the old tip jar with patreon.com/Syndicore. Because you know what? I'm not going to, stand out here and say, give us money so we can produce content. No, that's coming anyway. But if you appreciate what you hear and you're feeling a little, givery, why not? We could use some of that money, I guess, to, upgrade some stuff. And we have ideas for the future. And it would be helpful. Also, if you want to join us here live every week, go to facebook.com/the WADcast. That way you can join us in the live chat, leave some comments, we'll shout you out, and you're basically joining the conversation. Joining the conversation is where it's at these days. You don't want to be left out. But if you are left out of the live show, you can always find the shows available wherever fine podcasts are sold, including YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You know the drill. The show's everywhere.
Yes.
And finally, as one rock band said to me as a member of the audience, like our show, buy our stuff. tpublic.com/user/Simicore. That will take you to all of the Simicore and WADcast merchandise. We have some pretty nifty designs, if I do say so myself. Well, those are all of my plugs. So before we head out of here, I want to thank Brandon, Kinte, and Jen for being on the WADcast tonight. As if you had a choice. And it's been a blast. So I'm just going to pop that on there. It's time for the final thoughts.
Jerry.
Okay. Final thoughts. There's only one thing standing in between you and your dreams. That's you. You could start working on your stuff tomorrow, but tomorrow could be too late. Whatever it is you want to do, whatever art you want to create, you have to do it now. And when you create that art, I'm absolutely saying create whatever your heart desires, no matter how awful or offensive or anything it is. But remember, at some point, you're going to show it to somebody and they're going to remember that ish for the rest of their lives. So as everybody said, be careful. Art is influential, and that makes you an influencer.
Can I just go ahead and quote Spider-Man here? With great power comes great responsibility.
Touche. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.